Before we start talking about the process we use to divide fractions, we need to look at some problems and find a pattern. Our first visual shows us 4 multiplication problems with the multiplier missing. That is a question mark. What I'd like you to do is 2 things. Turn the tape off and figure out what number replaces the question mark in each problem, and then look for a pattern. And when you see a pattern, after having worked the 4 problems, come on back and we'll discuss the pattern that I see. Well, you should have done this. 5 times 1/5 is 1, because the 5's cancel. 17 times 1/17 equals 1. 1/2 times 2 equals 1. And 3/5 times 5/3, since the 5's cancel, the 3 cancels, that equals 1. What was the pattern? The pattern was that in every case, in order to multiply the number by another number and get 1, we actually exchanged the numerator and denominator, because we can write 5 as 5 over 1. We flipped it over, 1/5 multiplied, got 1. 17 over 1, flipped it over. 1/17 times 17 is 1. 1/2 becomes 2 over 1, or 2, so 2 times 1/2 is 1. And 3/5, we exchanged the numerator and denominator and got 5/3, and 5/3 times 3/5 equals 1. There is a very special name for the fraction we get when we flip it over, when we exchange the numerator and denominator. It is called the reciprocal. Now, in many of my classes, we call it the flip. It's so much easier to say, but the official mathematical term is reciprocal. That is going to become quite important. By the way, there is one number that does not have a reciprocal. That number is 0. Hopefully you said 0 with me. Why does 0 have no reciprocal? Because 1 over 0, we can't do that. If you recall, when we talked about dividing by 0, we said that any number other than 0 divided by 0 is undefined. And therefore, since the reciprocal of 0 would be 1 over 0, and that's undefined, 0 does not have a reciprocal, which is very fine because we will use the notion of reciprocal to divide, and obviously we cannot divide by 0. Now let's look for a pattern among division problems. The next visual shows us 3 division problems with 3 matching multiplication problems. Work the problems out, and again, look for a pattern. And when you've worked all 6 of the actual computations and see a pattern, come on back to the tape here, and we'll discuss the answers and the pattern that you should see. Okay. As we see, we can certainly, the division problems, 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now, notice the whole numbers are written as fractions, 8 over 1 and 2 over 1, but still the answer is 4. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and 15 divided by 5 is 3. The matching multiplication problems, we can cancel, and we get the same answers. 8 times a half is 4, 12 times 1/3 is 4, and 15 times 1/5 is 3. Now, before we discuss the pattern, I want you to take a look at this next problem. 5/7 divided by 2/3. I want you to use the pattern you thought you saw to do this division problem. And then come on back to the tape and we'll see if you had the right pattern. Well, the pattern that you should have seen is that dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. That is, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. Dividing by 3 is the same as multiplying by 1/3. Dividing by 5 is the same as multiplying by 1/5. And therefore, dividing by 2/3 is the same as multiplying by 3/2. So we've changed the 5/7 divided by 2/3 to a multiplication problem, 5/7 times 3/2. We already know how to do that from lesson 7. We cannot cancel. We multiply, we get 15/14, And the answer is 1 and 1/14. So,